All right, we are live, guys. This is another Mentorship Masters Roundtable Meetup. I'm your host. Hey, we're going to have a good time together. We're actually going through this book right here, Triple My Listings. And this is a 12-part series. I've determined it's a 12-part series where we're talking about nothing but lead generation. This is the topic that's on everybody's heart and mind. This is what you guys have asked me to. There you go. David Speedy's got his copy. You guys have been asking me for this. And so here it is. Here it is. We're going to keep continuing to go through this. And again, this is a 12-part series. What's up, Red Day? You still representing? I like it. I like it. See, we're not hating. We're not hating over here. I still got one in my closet.
Knolly. Hey, Knolly.
What's that?
Our newest member, Judy Honeywell, is on the call. That's
Judy.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a new mentorship master. Judy. Hey, Judy. Welcome to our Mentorship Masters Roundtable Meetup.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Glad to have you here. Welcome to Mentorship Masters. So what I like to do is I like to start these. Patty Lynn and I thought it was a good idea to start every one of these with mindset, giving you guys a mindset nugget, because mindset, guys, you got to remember this. Mindset is where the magic really happens. 90% of the success that you say you want happens within the mind, and the mind is what keeps us from having the success that we want. And it also is what helps us to create the success. Now, here's something for you guys to think about. I don't want you to take this as gospel, but I want you to consider this, because this is what I've come to understand through my study of mindset, quantum physics, scripture, etc. So the brain and the mind are not the same thing. Okay, write that down. I want you to ponder that this week. And as you're reading books like, for example, Letting Go, that's our book of the month that we're reading right now. Actually, we've carried this over into 2 months because it's such it's a heavy book, and it's it's deep. It gets pretty deep, but it's really easy. The technique of letting go is really easy. So in Letting Go, he talks about, David Hawkins talks about that the brain is an organ, okay? And it does a lot of great functions. The brain is amazing. It does, it's good with memory. It memorizes things. It stores information. It recalls information. It does computations, etc. But the mind is actually a field, okay, that resonates from outside of the human body, okay? So there's the mind and there's the brain, okay? And within the brain, though, they discovered that there's unconsciousness and there's consciousness, okay? The unconscious brain is what governs all the major functions of your body that just happen. You cut your hand, guess what? In fact, I got a scar on my hand right now. You can barely see it. But the body automatically goes to work to heal that scar. That happens within the unconscious body. And then we have a conscious body. So 12% of the things that occur in the realm of the mind happen within the conscious mind. 88% of those things happen within the unconscious mind. Okay, very, very important for you guys to understand that. So as we're looking at mindset, I want to go right into this book, because one of the things that, and this is how I start off every training. I believe that first you learn and then you earn. You got to learn first and then you earn. A lot of times you'll see a lot of agents that they get real successful. They take a lot of listings, they do real good, and then they fizzle out. Okay. What I don't want that for you guys. I want you to have abundance for the rest of your life. Okay. Remember, we read The Secret to Permanent Prosperity. That was one of our books of the month. So important to have not just temporary prosperity, but lifelong prosperity. By the way, being broke and being poor is two different things. You guys know that. See, and some of you guys have learned this. Being broke, okay, being poor is a state of the mind. Okay, it's a state, but being broke is a temporary financial condition. Okay, being broke is a temporary financial condition, but being poor is a state of mind. Okay, remember, Jesus said, "The poor you will have with you always." Okay, so let's get into this. So in Triple My Listings, each one of you guys should have this already. If not, let Patty Lynn know if it's either on the way to you or if you already got it. So we talked about developing the daily lead generation habit. We talked about that in video number 1. We talked about the importance of time blocking, the 4-stage lead life cycle. And then we started getting into the last episode of this. We started getting into objection handlers. What are objections? How do we handle objections? We got into the excuses. There's 5 excuses that agents make for not prospecting. Remember, prospecting equals paychecks. Prospecting equals paychecks. Not prospecting equals poverty. Not prospecting equals poverty. And so many agents will go through, in fact, I was talking to an agent recently, and he was talking about the fact that he just doesn't prospect. He's doing okay, might make about 20 deals a year, but he doesn't consistently prospect. And if you want to have a rocking business, you've got to have a consistent lead generation system in place. So we talked about that. You guys are doing the 2. That's what I teach. Do the 2. If you don't know what that means, go back and listen to the prior videos on this. And today, I want to talk about a couple of things. Number 1, overcoming the fear of prospecting. And then I want to get into why agents fail. Okay, this is all mindset stuff. And then I want to start getting into the tactics, because that's really what you guys want to get into is the real tactics and how I'll give you some really, really good behind the scenes tips on how to implement the stuff that I have in this book. You know, I got to say this as a caveat. A lot of people that I teach and coach, and a lot of people in general, I'm the same way. We want to get right to the meat. We don't want to have no, appetizers. I don't want to have that salad. Just bring me the meat. I want that first. But as Paul talks about in the book of Romans, he says that, many people desire, he talks about that in Hebrews as well. Many people desire the meat, but they're not ready. They're not ready. Even Jesus talked about it. He said, there are so many things that I wish to teach you, but you're not ready yet. Remember, success comes from learning the right things in the right order. Okay. Write that down if you haven't written that down before. Success comes from learning the right things in the right order. There's a lot of people out there doing the right things, but they have failed. They've negated to do them in the right order. Here's another one to write down. When it comes to success, okay, no rung of the ladder can be skipped. Okay, no rung on the ladder can be skipped. A lot of times I have students that want to go from kindergarten to 5th grade. And that's great. It's good. It's good to want to do that, because I know in 5th grade, that's where they're really rocking and rolling and doing stuff. But you got to go through kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and then you get, to 5th grade. Okay, there's a system to it. And when you think about a ladder, a lot of times what will happen, and this is why a lot of my students don't achieve lifelong success, okay, is because they've skipped a rung in the ladder. Okay, they skipped a rung in the ladder. Now, you've skipped a rung in the ladder when you keep getting the same lesson over and over. Like the universe keeps trying to teach you a lesson. God keeps putting stuff back, like the same lesson. I'll give you an example of my own life. Okay, I went broke several times before I learned the lesson that I got to understand money. You have to have a right money mindset. Okay, I was a wealthy person. I was making millions of dollars with a poverty mindset. Okay, and so I had not learned basic concepts of money management, and so I had to go back and learn that to where, so I've lost fortunes multiple times until I had to go back and learn that lesson. Okay, so when you think about a ladder, there's several rungs on that ladder as you stage up, and there might be, there's a rung here and a rung there, and a lot of people have a tendency to want to skip those rungs. And I don't care how far up you get, you're going to be pushed back to kindergarten if you skip that grade. Okay, very important to understand this. And that's the reason why I put a lot of emphasis on the beginning of my books with teaching a lot of mindset concepts and things that will be foundational. Okay, Remember, when you build a house, you build the foundation first, and then you build everything on top of it. You don't build the house without the foundation. Otherwise, as Jesus said, you're building a house on shaky, sinking sand. And we don't want that for you. So there's always a method in my teaching. Okay, I see a few comments. If you guys have any comments that you want to throw out, just put them up here in our chat. Yeah, baby steps, very important. That's what Robert Graham said. And Carlton Green says cycles are repeated when you don't learn. That's absolutely right. You know, when you got to think about the way God sets things up. And it's just like when you go to school and you take an assessment test to get to the next grade. If you don't pass that assessment test, guess what? You're going to do some summer school or you're going to repeat the grade. Okay. Same thing with God. You look back in scripture and there's many people that were doomed to repeat the grade. You don't have to, guys. You don't have to. You can get it once, check it off, and move on. Okay, and that's what I would wish for you. So let's look at this. We're right on page 16, and go to the section where it says overcoming the fear of prospecting. Okay, overcoming the fear of prospecting. If you are not prospecting, it's one of three things. Okay, number one is ignorance. Okay, there's 5 excuses, but we debunked those last week. So if you want to go back and look at the 5 excuses, they're on pages 14, 15, and 16. You know, so anyway, let's move on. Let's get right into overcoming that fear. So we talked about there's 3 things. Number 1 is ignorance. Number 2 is fear, and number 3 is doubt. Okay, so if you're not prospecting, it's either one of those things. It's either ignorance is like, I didn't know that I should be prospecting. Like I didn't know that was something that I was supposed to be doing. And oddly enough, many real estate agents don't have a rhythm to their prospecting. They don't know that they're supposed to be prospecting on a regular basis, and so they don't. But ignorance is not an excuse that you guys can use. So the other 2 excuses are going to be fear or doubt. You know, fear of rejection or doubt that the methods will work or doubt that people will, you know, accept you or whatever those doubts are. Okay. So overcoming the fear, it really gets down, and you can read all the stuff here on verse 17. I give an example of what would happen if you went to a village and you offered your services to villagers. You know, there's going to be some people like they have huts and you're there to help them, you know, repair their huts and put their huts in order. There's going to be some people that are very suspicious, and you're looking at their hut. You're a handyman, right? You know how to do everything, or a handy woman, right? You know how to do everything possible to get their hut in tip-top shape. You know, you just flew over and you're in Uganda and you're helping these people. Now, some of them are going to just shut the door on you. They're not going to allow you to help them, okay? Because they have a fear of outsiders. Maybe that's the case. Some of them are going to welcome you with open arms and be like, hey, come on in here and do that free work. I'd love for you to do it, right? And there's going to be anywhere in between. So some people are going to be like, yeah, and some other people are like, no, right? What you got to realize is that it's not about you, okay? People project. So it has nothing to do with you. It's about them. All you can do when you're prospecting is offer someone your help, your services. Now, whether they accept them or reject them is really up to them. Now, there are some skills that you have to get it. You have to understand, okay? Skills, write down the word skills. Skills are very important, okay? So what are some skills that you need? Now, well, you need to learn scripts, okay? You need to learn scripts. A lot of agents they have an adversarial mentality towards scripts. You know, they don't want to learn scripts. I remember when I was young in 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade, I did a lot of theater. And I did plays, Hansel and Gretel, Wizard of Oz, you name it. We did all kinds of plays, and I would play different characters. And guess what? If the play was going to be successful, I had to learn the script. I had to learn my part. I had to learn my lines. Okay. When you're learning scripts, it's not that you're learning something that's unnatural. You're just learning how how to articulate something to someone very quickly, very succinctly, and in a way that they'll accept. Here's what you guys got to understand, and I want you to really understand this, okay? I want you to really get this. When you're going on a listing appointment, okay, all you're trying to do is get them to say yes. That's it. That's all you're trying to do is get them to say yes. It's very important for you to understand that. And so scripts are a tool to allow you to get the yes quicker. Like, here's the thing. Do you know that that person should be working with you? Yes or no? Okay. Now, if the answer is you don't know, if it's not it's either a hell yeah or a no. I want you to write that down. Okay. It's either, and a lot of you guys don't like the word hell, but it's in the Bible, so I use it. It's either hell yes or no. I want you to, this is another thing I want to teach you. So whenever you're thinking about doing something, okay, working with someone, doing a new technique or training, or even as you go through the 27 techniques that I teach, okay, when you come across one of the marketing ideas, remember, you only have to use 2 or 3 ideas, maybe 4 ideas to get all the leads that you want. You don't have to use all 27 of them. You got to remember this, only 2, 3, or 4 of these is all you have to ever use in your career. Okay, you can use more of them if you want, but you don't have to. Okay, so when you come across one of these ideas, it's either like, hell yeah, I want to do that, or it's a no. Okay, there's no in between. The scripture says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. There's no in between. So it's either a yes or it's a no. If it's like, maybe, that's a no. If it's like, yeah, I kind of could do that, I could kind of see myself doing that, that's a no. Okay, now don't let the little self hold down the big self. Okay, write that down. Don't let your little self, I won't let my little self stifle my big self. Okay. A lot of people, every one of us has a little me and like a mini me. Every one of us has a mini me and a big me. Okay. The big me in you wants to shine, wants to be all that you can be, wants to go out there and rock it, wants to do all this. But the little me in you wants to keep you small, keep you down, keep you, hiding. It wants you to hide. That's what it wants to do, because the little me has no other agenda but to keep itself safe, right? And to keep, in a way, it's trying to keep you safe is what it thinks it's doing, but it's really trying to keep itself safe. Doesn't want to be seen. No way I'm getting on stage. You mean I'm going to get on stage in front of 250 people? No way I'm doing that. Okay. That's the little me. Okay. But the big me says, man, we about to shine. We're about to do this. I don't know what you're thinking about, but it's on right now, So you got to let the big me shine. Very, very, very important. Okay. So let's get into this. So it's either ignorance, fear, or doubt is what keeps you from moving forward in prospecting. And it's not about you. It's about them. So there are skills that you have to learn. Okay. I'll say that again. And that's scripts. You've got to learn the business. Like if you want to learn the listing game, which is what I teach, this book right here will articulate it for you, Success with Listings. Each one of you should have this book. It's out there on Amazon. It's like 16 something. Most of you already have this. So this is the game, play by play. It's a playbook. So in terms of, the fear and doubt, that's another thing. That's what letting go. That's what the book Letting Go is going to help you with, because that fear, as you have fear and doubt around it, you consistently surrender that to God. Okay, as it comes up, as the fear comes up. So, but again, you got to realize it's not about you; it's about them. When I started doing YouTube videos, it was like, man, I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want to be, because a lot of people, like a lot of you, have a hard time getting into doing video. Even though I admonish you to do it, you haven't made it a good mix of what you do in your real estate career. Why? Because you're afraid to be seen. You're afraid of being seen. You're afraid of letting the big you shine, right? But what you got to realize is it's not about you. It's not about how you look, or, I mean, a lot of times I see myself on video and I'm like, man, I can't believe, mustache is all sideways, and maybe I didn't put enough, oil on my face, and, dry skin and all, whatever. And you just got to you got to make fun of yourself. You got to allow yourself to be seen and be okay with it. And so the fear of rejection, you got to allow yourself. They're not rejecting you. That's what I want you to understand. They're not rejecting you. Okay. It's nothing personal. Don't take it personal. All right. So we talked on page 18 that your prospects have to be willing to allow you to help them. Now, if you can come in with the right energy, you can say the right things, you have the right pre-listing package, okay, everything that I teach, you've got your pre-listing video, okay, you should have the 3 tools, right, we talked about already. You should have your seller guide, okay, you should have your pre-listing package, and you should have your movie, I call it, and those are all the stuff of a rock star, right? So when you come in, see, you've got to win the listing before you ever meet with the client. You already know that, okay? Just reminding you that's the way it's got to be done. And so you use your tools and your skills, okay? You come in and you've learned everything. You know what to say. You don't have any intimidation, any fear. Remember last week, I showed you how to turn fear, how to turn fear into excitement, okay? If you haven't watched that, go back and listen to that from last week. You've learned all that stuff, okay? So once you've learned all that, then it's not about you, okay? Now, there's going to be a point when you first start where you kind of, like one of my mentors, he says, when you first get started, you're going to suck. You're just going to suck. But then what happens is you keep doing it, and guess what? You start to suck less. And then you start sucking so less that you actually become good. And that's the way it works, guys. It's not like you just instantly become good at this, okay? So let's get into where the leads will come from. You guys already know it's going to be your sphere of influence, your farm, and your niche. Those are the 3 lead buckets. On page 19, I talk about that. And then I want to move right into why agents fail, because agents do fail. Some of you are failing right now. Some of you are failing to achieve your ultimate greatness. You're doing 20 deals a year when I know it could be 50. You're doing 50 a year when I know it could be 80. You're doing 80 a year when I know it could be 150. Okay. So failing is really not living up to the full potential that God birthed within you. See, there's nobody, there's no one on this planet that's better than you at selling real estate. Okay. You might think they are, and that thought is what holds you from being top. Okay. There's just people that get more at bats. Okay. Granted, if I get more at bats, I'm going to hit more balls just because I had more chances at bat. If you look at the statistics of ball players, okay, Babe Ruth on down, they failed more than they succeeded. Okay. But they had so many opportunities that they actually succeeded. You look at there's a Michael Jordan quote that I just recently heard where he talked about how he failed his way to success, and that's how it happens. Okay. So let me look at these comments, and then I want to go into why agents fail, and then I want to get right into lead generation and teaching you guys some amazing tactics. Okay. Yeah. David Speedy says the Egyptian Pharaoh didn't learn after several lessons, and you can see the result. That's right. And God is so good to us that he gives us these lessons over and over again so that we'll get it. Yeah. Robert Graham's giving you a Knollyism. I have these Knollyisms, and I say they come from me, but they really don't come from me. They come from God, the God within me. But one of them is, if you say what I tell you to say and do what I tell you to do, you can't help but succeed in this business. Yeah, that's one that I say quite often. And it sounds a bit cocky, a bit arrogant. But even the Apostle Paul says, hey man, I got this figured out. Just do what do what I'm doing, and you're all right. So let's talk about this. Why agents fail. And I like that scripture too, 2 Timothy 1:7. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. Amen. I love that. Thank you, Robert, for that. So why agents fail? Now, in verse, on page 20, I talk about the fact that NAR has reported that a whopping 87% of agents fail in this business. That's deplorable. Okay. I'm about reducing the agent failure rate. Okay. 87% of agents fail. If you went in a business, if you went into a venture of any kind, and I told you there's a 13% chance of success, you know, who would go into a business like that? If I asked you to make an investment in my business and I said, hey, I got this business I'm going to start, and 87% of people fail in it, but I think I can succeed, you would not invest in it. But yet we have, and the turnover, the churn, okay, whenever you have turnover in a business, it's called a churn, okay? So the churn rate in real estate is just absolutely amazing, okay? It's just absolutely amazing. So most of us don't make it in this profession, okay? So why is that? Well, I talk about it here on page 20, and this comes from 30 years of research. You guys know that I love to read. I just finished Letting Go for the 4th time yesterday. I just finished that book, and I started a new book today. It's called The Choice. Really, really good book so far. It's turning out to be. So I like to read at least a book a week if I can. Sometimes more, sometimes 2 books a week. I've been doing that since I was 12, maybe younger. I've always loved to read, and I know a lot of people don't, and that's okay, but I do. So with 30 years of research, here's the conclusion. To be successful, all you have to do is study and learn about what other successful people are doing and just do what they've done. That's the secret to success. You know, people want to make it very, very difficult so they can maybe sell a bunch of audios or video series or get you to their seminars. But the reality is, if all you have to do, now it does require a shift in mindset. It's very important because you can do the same things as someone else. You can make a burger just like McDonald's and not have the McDonald's numbers, okay? They make a crappy burger and you know what to expect. You could be in Rome, go to McDonald's, you know you're going to get crap, but you know what it's going to taste like. You're okay with it, right? So mindset and other things go into play there, right? But the reality is, if you just follow what other successful people do, you'll be successful. A lot of people get in this business and they think, and I did this before myself in another business, they think like, man, this industry is screwed up. I'm going to go in, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do things differently. I'm not going to do like everybody else. Well, when I went in the music business, that was my attitude. I was like, man, I don't like this business. There's corruption. I'm going to go in and change it. I'm going to do things differently. Well, guess what? I was honest. I had integrity, but I wasn't going to change the system. The business was what it was. Okay. It's just like when Christ came here, he wasn't here trying to change everything. Like, hey, you tax collectors, you need to collect money this way. No, he didn't mess with none of that. You know, we're in the world system, and the system is what it is. Somebody asked me this morning, they said, if you can change one thing about real estate, what would you change? I said, I wouldn't change nothing about it. You know, I like it the way it is. You know, there might be some things I would probably like better, but everything serves a purpose, guys. Every single thing serves a purpose. You learn that from Letting Go. So the reason why agents fail, what I've deduced it down to, is that they don't really have a mentor that's telling them what to do, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, step by step. They don't have what you guys have. They don't have what I want you to have is a Knolly Williams in your back pocket. At one time, I was even exploring and thinking about the idea. I thought it was overkill, by the way. But I was thinking about the idea of recording a series of videos that you could just take to a listing appointment and play. Like, okay, here's Knolly's thing about pricing. Click, and then you just play it. But, you know, I thought that was a little too much, you know. But what I really want for you guys is, if you do what I tell you to do, say what I tell you to say, you'll have success, period. Okay. If you're not having success, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. If you're not having success and you're doing everything, okay, you're probably not doing everything. Okay. But if you think you're doing everything that you say that should lead to success, you're doing 2 hours of lead generation every single day, you're following the scripts and steps and everything that I teach, If you're doing that and not getting success, then you have an abundance block. Okay, you probably have an abundance block, and you might have had it. You might have been born with it. You might have had it since childhood. Maybe you had it since you were 5, 6, 7, 12 years old. People get blocks. Some people are destined for poverty only because they have a belief, a program in the mind that says that they're supposed to be poor. So I'll give you an example. I have a relative that she started a business. She got into a windfall, making really, really good money. And yet she has the belief that she doesn't deserve it. Okay. Because other members in the family aren't doing as well. You know what they call that? Guilt. Okay. Guilt. That's not something that's not of God. Okay. Guilt. Now there's, when you do something that you know you shouldn't be doing. Okay. Yeah. It comes up. You address it, you repent, you go back to what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, that's one thing. But living with guilt, no, you're not supposed to be living. Those are tools of the enemy. Okay, fear, guilt, doubt, shame. When you start going to a church, I went to a church that's all they would preach. Trying to get you into shame. That's like a cult. That's what cults do. They're trying to brainwash you, and a lot of churches do this, by the way. A lot of even evangelical churches, they keep their members in fear, doubt, guilt, shame, and in those low vibrational areas, which is really not the way. That's not the abundant life. Okay, so the reason why most agents don't succeed is because they try to do things their own way. Okay, there's nothing with doing things your own way. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Okay, but you've got to do them the standard way first, and then build on top of that. Okay. In other words, I used to be a baker, big time into baking. I mean, cakes, cookies, pies, cobblers, you name it, I could bake it. I started baking when I was 9 years old. And by the time I was 13, I could make just about any recipe that I even to this day could make. Okay. You name it, I can make it. Right. Now, one thing I learned about baking, very, very critical, guys. Those of you that bake know what I'm talking about. When you get a new recipe, you follow it exactly the first time. Don't experiment. Now, when you're cooking, you can experiment. You're going to put a dash of that and a pinch of that. No. When you're baking, that's science. Cooking is art. Baking is science. Okay. So you can't come in there saying, hey, it needs a cup of flour, a cup of sugar. I'm just going to put half a cup of flour. Okay. Now, you might not like it so sweet, put a little less sweetener, but then you can't come and say, I'm going to put 3/4 cup of milk instead of 1 cup. No, you can't do that. You follow the recipe exactly, and then you perfect it. So over time, you start saying, you know what, that last time I made it, it was a little too doughy. So I'm going to omit this, or I'm going to add that, or I'm going to put a pinch of this. Then you start becoming a little bit of scientist. But guess what? You got the foundations 90% there. So what I teach you, what I'm training you, what I'm telling you guys to do is 90% there. You can build on top of that. And guess what? Give it your own identity, but don't start off that way. So number one, reason why agents fail is because they try to do it their own way. And number two, they don't have a mentor. They don't have someone that's guiding them. The other reason is they're just not doing it. They're not doing the work. Okay. Write this down. I've got to do the work, and put exclamation point. I've got to do the work. Okay. I can't do the work for you. You've got to do the work. Okay. And what is the work? It's the 2 hours a day, every single day of lead generation, Monday through Friday. Friday, you're doing agent attraction. Monday through Thursday, you're doing lead generation for listing leads. By the way, when you do lead generation, what is your only goal? Okay. Let me hear a few answers. Type that in the chat box. When you're doing lead generation, what's your only goal with lead generation? Carlton says, okay, I repent. To repent means to turn around 180 degrees and go the opposite direction. Yeah, once forgiven, guilt is an insult to our Savior. That's true, no doubt, David. Let me see. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so the number one, one of you guys is saying, So there's only one goal in lead generation. And one of you guys is saying to generate leads. One of you is saying to get them to say yes, to get the listing, to get a yes from your client. Man, we got a lot of high D's on here, boy. You D's are gone. Okay, so those are all good. Those are all good reasons why you do lead generation. But I find that most agents completely miss this. It's so simple. They completely miss it. The only goal of lead generation is, and by the way, I've never really taught you guys this. David, well, I'm not going to say who's saying, but one of you guys is saying to build a database. That's a good one. That's a really, really good one. But the only goal of lead generation is to generate appointments. Okay, to generate appointments. One said capture, incubate, convert. Yeah, but see the conversion. You capture, you incubate. Okay, now you incubate, but where do you convert? At the appointment. Okay, the only goal of lead generation is to generate appointments. I want you guys to really understand this because most agents don't understand this. It's all about appointments, guys. It's not about how many listings you have. It's not about how many closings you have. Most agents track the wrong numbers. You know, I was that way when I first got in the business. I started tracking closings. You don't track closings, guys. You don't track closings. You track appointments. Okay, that's all you track. And if you track appointments, so your goal would be, okay, you're doing 2 hours of lead generation every day, and your goal is to generate 2 appointments a week. Okay, that's your goal. Now, and I talk about this in Success with Listings. If you want to really go in and dig, it's in the chapter that says Know Your Numbers, chapter 4. Okay, it says Know Your Numbers. But the whole, and even if you look at the goals worksheet, the Excel worksheet that I put together for you guys to do a spreadsheet on your goals, and that's out in your Mentorship Masters membership portal. The whole point is appointments. That's all. That's your only goal is appointments. Now, once your appointment goal is being met, then you can start saying, okay, how good? So for every appointment you go on, how many of those do you convert? Okay, that now you're working on your conversion. So if you convert, let me give you an example. If you go on 2 appointments a week and you convert 50% of those, what is your conversion rate going to be? I mean, how many pieces of business are you going to pick up? 4. Okay, you went on 8 appointments that month. You picked up 4 pieces of business. Okay, but your conversion rate is only 50%. That's bad. Okay, in case you don't know, that's not good. My conversion rate, whenever I went on listing appointments, was about 92, 93%. Okay, of every listing appointment that I went on, I got the listing. I didn't care if it was against 2, 3, 4 agents. Didn't matter how many agents it was against. I would get the listing. But it doesn't matter if an agent could actually beat the pants off of me if they had more appointments. Okay, so if I had 10 appointments that month, I would get 9 listings. Okay, but guess what? If you had 20 appointments that month and you're 50%, you're still going to get 10 listings. You're still going to beat me because you went on more appointments. That the whole key, guys, where everything, all the paychecks, everything happens from the appointments. Okay, the only purpose of doing lead generation is to generate appointments. That's the only goal. Okay, now there might be some ancillary goals like building your list, but the purpose of building your list is to have more people that you can generate appointments with, right? It all boils down to appointments. I want you guys to really have that. That's going to be the one thing I want you guys to understand and have it sink in this week. Very, very critical. Okay, so if you're and let's look at a couple numbers. I want you guys to be jotting this down. Some critical numbers. Number one, the number of appointments that you generate is very, very critical. When you go on an appointment, how many of those do you convert? That percentage is very, very critical. Okay, so so the appointment ratio to listing ratio. Now, of the listings that you actually take, that you list, how many of those actually sell? Okay, how many of those actually close, right? So you've got a number of numbers that you have to track. So if you go on listing appointments and you convert 50%, and you sell 75% of the listings that you take, okay, then you can just do the math and figure out how many appointments you have to go on to get to the number that you want. Whenever I do a calculator, like if you say, like on the calculator that calculates your annual income, you say you want to do $100,000 a year, you want to net that in your pocket, after EXP and everything else. Well, guess what? It's going to break it down to you on how many appointments you have to go on. That's the bottom line. How many appointments you have to go on. And some of you guys are going to figure out clever ways to beat that. Like I had one gal, she was working with seniors. And so she went to a senior living community and she would do seminars. She had 35 people in one seminar that were thinking about selling their home. So she had one listing appointment with 35 people. Okay. I have her video out on my successwithlistings.com/case-studies. Okay. successwithlistings.com/case-studies. We talk about how she did that. But going back to this, going back to why agents fail, again, they don't have good mentorship, and they're trying to reinvent the wheel. Don't reinvent the wheel. Okay. So let's get with that. I want to see if there's any questions that you guys have before we actually move into tactics and strategies, or if you guys are actually ready to move into tactics and strategies, we can do that right now. What I want to do now, as we move into the 27 marketing ideas and tactics, again, I want you to realize you only have to do a handful of them. And I also want you to realize that you don't want to do the ones that don't resonate with you. And why is that? Because now you also have to check why it doesn't resonate. Okay. That's very important. So if you read one and it doesn't resonate with you, why doesn't it resonate with you? Okay. And it might be because of fear. And there are some things to overcome. So it doesn't mean that you can, always sidestep that whole issue. I mean, at some point, fear has to be handled and dealt with. That's the book, Letting Go. That's what it's all about. Not just fear, but many, many emotions. Okay. So don't out of hand say, I'm just not going to do this ever. And there are some guys, I don't care how much you don't like them, that you're going to have to do. And I'll show you how to get around doing them if you really don't like them. There's ways around how to do them. Okay, Robert needs to go to a doctor's appointment. No problem. Go back and listen to the rest of this, on the video. So we're going to get right in. And by the way, these are in no particular order, guys. So if you think that I put my favorite ideas to the beginning, you're wrong. I just wrote down my 27 favorite ones. I didn't know how many it was going to be till I wrote them all down. They happened to be 27 of them. And that's how it ended up. So starting on page 24, idea number 1, you want to communicate with your sphere of influence via email every single month. Okay, every single month. Now, that goes back to just being electronic communication. I love email because I'm an old dog. Email is just something that, it's been tried and true. People continue to use it. So what I say here is you've got to continue to touch people. You've got to continue to let them know that you're in the business, that you're still in real estate, that you still sell houses. And you do that. Most people, this is what most agents do. The majority of agents, okay, do not ever contact their clients again after they have the sale. After they have the experience, they never contact them again. Okay. And that's the reason why most people, even though, it's a real high rating, it's almost like 90%, it's like 86% of people say that they would use the same agent again. But what percentage actually do use the same agent? So 86% say they will use the same agent. What percentage actually do? Let me hear some guesses. And what that means is when you're at the closing table, you're a hero. You get 8.5 out of 10, or you get about a 4 out of 5 star rating. That's not bad. That means they really liked you. Okay. Okay, so here's one. Sam Silver says 3%. Robert says 4%, 40%. Yeah. Okay. Good. So I hear a couple of answers. So about 9 to 13% is what National Association of Realtors says. Between 9 and 13% of people use the same agent again. Okay. In fact, I got a call right after this with a couple that I sold them a house 14 years ago. Okay. And then I just sold them another house this year. And then I'm selling their current home now. So this is what you want. You want people to know who you want them to not only know who you are, but to remember you. Okay. And you do that by continuing to stay in contact with them. So what I like to use, I created a newsletter at More Solds. Every single one of you has a free account to More Solds, MORESOLDS. Those of you that are Mentorship Masters members have a free account to More Solds. Okay, and I just put that caveat out here because I always upload these videos as unlisted on YouTube, but I give you guys permission to share them. If you find one that's really, really good and you want to share them with someone that you're thinking about attracting over, by all means, you've got the link, the YouTube link, you can share it with them. So other people might watch these, but again, if you're in Mentorship Masters, you already got More Solds. It's set it and forget it. It's a one-time setup. You get all your people imported in there, and guess what? Now they're getting a monthly newsletter every single month. The real key is just that they hear from you every month. Okay, just that they hear from you, and so that's the first thing. There's going to be more to it, but number one is staying in touch with people. The reason why I make all of these, I call them 2 glasses of wine simple. Everything that I teach is 2 glasses of wine simple. Okay. That means I just had my second glass of wine and I still understand what he's saying. Because here's the reason why I say it that way. Because if it's not that simple, you won't do it. Remember, I'm teaching real estate agents, of which I am one. And I know if it's not 2 glasses of wine simple, you guys won't do it. Right. Now, some real estate agents have made an art form of making things very difficult, arduous, and complex. They've got these complex systems and everything. And if you'll do it, that's fine. It's no problem. I don't mind you doing that. Okay. But I'm telling you, if you stick with simplicity for the long haul, for the long run, you'll stay in the game. Okay. Remember, this is a long game, not a short game. What's the difference? Long game is, where am I going to be in 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years? Okay. Short game is, how can I make some money now, this month, next month, or the next 3 months, or the next 6 months? Long game doesn't think that way. Long game says, how can I be wealthy? Okay. Long game is creating generational wealth. That's long game. And long game, when you think long game, and that's the reason why I joined EXP. I'm thinking long game. It may not make as much sense in the short game. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff you have to deal with for onboarding and all this other crap that you have to deal with. But when you start thinking long game, it's like, okay, am I willing to put up with the discomfort, in the short term to get to the long term? Okay, I'll give an example. About 8 years ago, it's 8 years, not, was it 2008? 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I got braces. Okay. And back then, I had several successful businesses. I had been an entrepreneur since I was in my early 20s, actually since I was 13, but started making real money in my early 20s. I had a multi-million-dollar record label, all that stuff, had generated wealth and all that, made millions and everything. But I was 38 years old, and my teeth were jacked up. I mean, I had no other way to say it. These bottom teeth, and they were getting worse. But I inherited it, from one of my parents. I won't say which one, but you see pictures of them, you'll know. But so these bottom teeth right here, they look like they were throwing up gang signs like that. They're doing all kind of crazy stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm ready to get braces, and I'm 38 years old. I didn't get them when I was a kid, but I'm going to make a decision to get braces. And somebody was like, man, you're a grown man. You mean you're going to be walking around? Nobody's going to want to list their house with you, with big old railroad tracks in your mouth like that. Nobody's going to want. That was the chatter. Like, nobody actually told me this, but that was the little me talking, right? Man, who's going to want to list with you, man? Big old cowboy hat and braces all over your teeth. In fact, when they put my braces on, my teeth were so bad that it looked like one of those ectocardiograms. Like the braces were going up and down like that, because my teeth were all jacked up. But I made an investment, and I'm not talking bad about anybody else. If that's you, I'm talking about me. But I made an investment in myself. I said, you know what? If I get this, I'm going to have to endure walking around with these braces, which I hate. But long term, guess what? I'm going to have the kind of teeth I want, right? Or I'm going to have the smile I want. So I invested in it. It was an 18-month. They said, Knolly, you're going to get your braces off in 18 months. And then guess what happened? The doctor came because I had an underbite like this. The doctor came talking about he had to break my jaw. I was like, oh, no, what are we talking about here? He said, yeah, we're going to have to break your jaw. This is a true story. So the orthodontist recommended me to a surgeon who's going to break both of my jaws. So the guy, he was looking at it. He did all the work and everything. I'm sitting in his chair, and he's examining. He says, you know what? Yeah, we're going to have to break both of them, and it's $7,000 per jaw. And I said, what you say? I mean, I jumped so far back. By the way, that's one of the techniques that I teach you guys is that, when you're negotiating and somebody says something that you don't want to agree to, just jump back like that. And then a lot of times they get startled and they'll change the negotiating. Like I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say, man, I think we should list for $350. And then I'll regain my composure. But that little thing, that little seed, it put a little seed in them. Like, man, what's wrong with $350? Oh, well, let's look at the data. So I jumped back like that. He says, Knolly, he said, I tell you what, we can just break one of them and it just be half price. I'm like, man, you ain't breaking none of my job. So I didn't go through that, but guess what? I had to have the orthodontics for 4 years. 4 years. I'm speaking on stages, doing seminars. I'm at all these Keller Williams conferences, and they put me up on stage with braces all over the place. But guess what? I had my braces taken off 4 years later. I've been out of braces for 5 years, and it was long game, guys. It was long game. So I wasn't thinking about, now I could have gone in and got veneers and got an instant smile, but I was thinking more long game. I wanted to keep my teeth and all that. So a lot of you guys, you got to be thinking when you're in real estate, you got to think long game. I don't care how much money you need right now. Guess what? You're going to still need the money in a year from now. So you always want to think before you think short game. You got to tidy up the short game too, but you always got to think long game in this business, period. What's it going to look like a year from now if I do this today? Okay. If I make this choice today, what's it going to look like in my business a year from now? Because I guarantee you, many of you, if you had done this a year ago, if you'd done the stuff I teach you right now, what I'm teaching you right now, if you would have done it a year ago, you'd be doing 100 deals a year already. Okay. And now you'd be at me talking about, man, how can I get to 300? That would be our conversation. So write that down. Always think long game when you're thinking about your business. If you want to make millions of dollars, I could not tell you a year that I made less than 450,000 commission in real estate. Okay. Most years it was like 6, 7, 800,000. Okay. But I can't remember. Now there was years where I made less than 450,000. Guaranteed there were. But I actually had to go back and look at my tax returns to remember when that was, because even from the very, within my first year, I was making $250,000 a year. It's not like I did anything unique. I just did what other people were doing. I didn't come up with anything new because I didn't know that. I didn't even think, I wasn't smart enough to come up with anything new. I just gathered the things that successful people were doing and did them, period. But I did the work. Very important. I've never stopped lead generating every single day since the day I got in the business, period. That's the key right there to success. So that's number one. Idea number one is that if you want to reach out to your sphere of influence some other method, it's going to be more difficult because it's not going to be set it and forget it. So like if you want to text them, or if you want to I guess text would be, or messenger, going through messenger, but that's not automated. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this right now. Take out your phone. Okay. If you're not watching this on your phone right now, and go to your contacts. Pull up your contacts. Okay. Now that you're on your contacts, I want you to scroll all the way to the bottom of your contacts. Just scroll all the way to the bottom. And how many contacts does it say you have? This is on an iPhone. I'm thinking other phones are similar, but you should be able to see how many contacts you have in your phone. So put down how many contacts you have in your phone. Can y'all see that? You scroll all the way down. Can you see how many contacts you have in your phone? Are y'all seeing that? Okay, so somebody says 4,900. Okay, 400. That's good. 400. Okay. Let's see some more. So one of you, somebody else has 900. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm seeing 400, 2,100, 5,111, 2,105. You can't tell me with that many contacts in your phone that you can't have a rockin' listing business. I don't care if you're in a new city, a new town, or if you can make excuses as to, oh, well, these are contacts that are whatever, but you can't tell me you got 1,000 contacts or 400 contacts or 500 contacts and you can't have a rocking business. You can, okay? The only thing that's holding you back from having the business that you deserve is you, the little you, not the big you. The big you's ready to rock it. 863, yeah. You got 800 contacts and you're struggling to do 20, 30, or 40 deals? No, we ain't struggling to do that. And that's just your database. We haven't talked about other ideas of people that aren't even on your database. Okay, that's just one place. So every single month you should be sending a newsletter. A lot of people ask me, man, what should my newsletter say? It doesn't matter. See, a lot of people first of all, the newsletter, what percentage of people are even going to read it? Not very many. I don't care if my newsletter is ever read. Okay, all I'm doing is tapping you on the shoulder and reminding you that I'm still in real estate. Because if somebody comes to you and they say, hey, are you still selling houses? We got a problem. They don't remember that you're still in the business. So I used to have agents all the time. See, and because agents don't have a branding and marketing background like I do, they get into crazy stuff like, well, I'm going to make the best newsletter in the world. Nobody cares about your newsletter. They don't care about your articles and all the stuff things that you know. They don't. Now, you're going to have 5% of them that are coming, talking about the recipes. And, oh, yeah. I mean, I had people coming up to me all the time like, hey, I like that recipe this month. I'm like, oh, crap, I got to go back and look at what the recipe was. I don't know what they're talking about. So you're going to have some people that do read it. I'm not saying you won't, but I'm saying that the point is not to get them to read it. That's not the point, guys. The point is to get an appointment with them or somebody that they know to sell a house. That's the point, not how good your recipes are. So don't get bogged down into how great a newsletter you have. That doesn't matter. The whole key and the whole point is that you're touching people. That's the whole key. And that you're reminding them. It's just a reminder. It's just a tap on the shoulder. It's what we call a touch. It's a touch. Gary Keller, by the way, used to teach this concept called the 33 touch. And I don't know if some of you guys may know that if you were at Keller Williams or if you read Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. So somebody asked him one time, and we were in a private mastermind with Gary. Somebody asked him, he said, man, how did you come up with 33 touch? He said, do you want to know the textbook answer? You don't want to know the real answer. And this is God's honest truth, what he said. They said, we want to know the real answer. This is a private mastermind. He said, the real answer is, when I wrote Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it was a research project. So that's basically what the book is a research project. He said, now, even though those agents were selling a lot of real estate, they were so crappy about staying in touch with their sphere of influence that nobody had stats on that. Like there was nobody that could say, here's how I stay in touch. Like all of them sucked at it, right? That's just, as real estate agents, we're just bad at staying in touch with people. So he said that so basically he just made it up. And this is God's honest truth. If you ever corner Gary in an elevator or you talk to him one-on-one, he'll tell you that this is God's honest truth. They just made the number up, 33. It's a fabrication, guys. I'm doing a 33 touch. That's just been made up. The reason why that it was made up is because Gary figured like it's better to have too much than too little. Okay. And so he just came up with some ridiculous number like 33, and hopefully you guys will do half of it. That's God's honest truth, how that number came up. The truth is, if you guys would just stay in touch with your people, you do a whole lot more business. Okay. Not just from those people, because remember, people only sell every 7 to 9 years. Okay. So it's not that you're going to continue to do business with those people, but every single person. Here's what I want you to write down. Okay. Just make like on a sheet of paper, make like 5 dots randomly. Doesn't matter how you make them, just make 5 dots. And we're going to conclude here in a minute because I know we're at the 1 hour. Just make 5 dots. Okay, so that represents 5 people. Now just think about it. You looked on your cell phone and you looked at the very bottom, you scrolled to the very bottom and you saw how many contacts are in your cell phone. Okay, so this is a sampling of your database. It just represents 5 people. Each of those people represents a dot. Now, each of those persons has a database. Okay, they might have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people in their phone. Okay, each one of them. So it's not that you're trying to do business with that person. You're trying to do business with their extended sphere. Okay, and guess what? Each of the people that's in their database has a database. And each of the people in their database has a database. Okay, so if you take a sampling of 200, 300, 400 people, you're talking about maybe 15, 20, 30,000 people that could be affected, could be reached if you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, which is what I teach. Now, every single person, okay, this is one of those things that I say every one of you guys should be doing this because this takes 5 minutes to set up. It's set it and forget it. Once you set it up, it's done. Okay. The email newsletter automatically will go out. Now, if you want to supplement this, it's up to you. But make sure you're doing the basic things first. So this is what I would consider a basic. So idea number 1, you want to make sure you highlight that and make sure that you're doing that. It's just a one-time setup. We're at the end of our time, guys. But what I want to get into next time, okay. Hopefully I've inspired you on this call and gotten you to get off your butt to go out there and make it happen. Not to let the small self rule, but to let the big self, the big you that's within you, let that person shine. Let that one rule the day, if you will. As we get together next time, now let's look at our upcoming schedule real quick because I'm going to be out of town. I know some of you guys are going to be in Red Rock next week. We're going to just be goofing off. I mean, that's my favorite activity. We'll be out there hanging out. I've got a seminar that I'm doing on the 23rd in Vegas. Red Rock is an event in Vegas. They do it once a year. It's all about agent attraction, teaching you skills to be able to attract agents. That's all it's about. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I think there's still some tickets for sale. But I'll be there all next week. The following week, I'll be in Baton Rouge. So we'll see how that looks for doing a call. I've got the Baton Rouge Association of Realtors has me out speaking. They just emailed me yesterday that they sold out. They're putting people on a waiting list. So that's going to be fun. You know, I think they have 150 people going to that event. So I can't wait to see those of you that are in Vegas. We're going to be maybe do a stream back to the Mentorship Masters group page. But anyway, until next time, hey, I love you guys. I can't shut up. I'm so excited, but I love you guys. I wish you well. I wish you success. I know you can have the kind of success that you want if you go back and listen. Go back. One of the things that is a good idea, you can play these just get the URL from YouTube, put it in your saved YouTube videos, and just watch it while you're at the gym. I mean, you don't have to look at me, just listen to what I say. While you're at the gym working out, you can be learning. God bless you. I love you. And I'll see you probably a week after next.